All right, so our next presenter is Francine Dolins from the Department of Behavioral Sciences. And Francine's going to be talking to you about where the wild things are. Loved that book. And how they get there. Bonobos, chimpanzees, and human navigation in virtual reality. All right.
Thank you for coming to hear my presentation, where the wild things are and how they get there, bonobo, chimpanzee, and human navigation in virtual reality. I want to acknowledge also my students who are working with me on this project. They are testing the children and adults here in Michigan, not the primates, not the non-human primates. Okay. For foraging primates, it's crucial that they have good spatial knowledge. And that's true for all traveling animals, including humans. The difficulty in studying these individuals in the wild is that we don't know what they're paying attention to. And so that's when I designed using virtual reality to be able to test their spatial cognition. And virtual reality offers a lot of advantages, amongst them being able to control what the individuals are looking at. It also allows us to do cross-species comparisons. So I was inspired by studies on great ape navigation and also other primate species. Specifically, a study done by my colleague, Charlie Menzel, who was working with Kanzi, who was a lexigram proficient bonobo. If you're not sure what a lexigram is, it is a pictogram, and each one represents a word, and these bonobos or chimpanzees have been trained to use these lexigrams to communicate with us. So we can talk to them in English or whatever language. There's a lab in Japan that also uses lexigrams. And we can talk to them, and then they will reply to us using the lexigrams, or pointing or nodding. And in this case, Kanzi was asked to orienteer, not use trails in the forest that he knew from when he was young, to find certain locations in the forest. And those locations were identified by lexigrams. He traveled to these places using straight line paths, not using trails, and basically computing novel paths. And this suggests a very highly accurate memory and internal representation of the forest and ability to compute these novel trails. So using virtual reality and sort of replicating the kind of thing that Charlie Menzel did with Kanzi in the forest, we can present these different kinds of mini worlds and these mini environments with great flexibility, with lots of different kind of things in them. We can vary the scale and the complexity and the temporal and spatial availability of foods and the amounts and so on. Also, the subjects are generating the movement, so they get to choose what they pay attention to and what they want to look at. It enhances the ecological validity for captive studies, which is unusual for traditional studies, and it integrates both lab and field work. It allows for direct comparisons with multiple species and also entities. So in my study, we're looking at non-human primates as well as AI agents. And the richness of the virtual reality mini-worlds seems to allow for greater learning and faster learning in these primates. So in just summing up, the virtual reality enables these cross-species, cross-cultural, and cross-discipline comparisons, which are unusual in my field of comparative psychology. It's very difficult to often do that with any equality. So our participants in this study are human primates, so children and adults here in Michigan. Republic of Congo, we're testing hunter-gatherers called the Mbengele, a group of farmers who are the Bantu. Non-human primates include rhesus macaques, capuchins, chimpanzees, bonobos, and also we have a very detailed set of wild chimpanzee data from the Thai forest that's been collected by my colleague Carleen Janmat. We're also testing artificial intelligence agents, using them for models for learning for comparison with colleagues in MIT. The questions that we're addressing are threesome. So first, to do with equivalence. Do individuals see some kind of equivalence between the real world and the virtual reality world and going back and forth between them? what kind of internal representations do they develop, and what kind of cognitive operations do they use when they're using these internal representations, basically their memory for the virtual space. And is there a correspondence between the kinds of representations and cognitive operations that they use to navigate in both virtual and real space? So we have a relatively complicated design, a set of experiments, and I will not go through all of these today, not in 6 minutes or so. But the study that I'll focus on is the spatial memory and foraging task. I'll show you some film clips of a chimpanzee and a bonobo, Kanzi actually, navigating. But our studies go from looking at equivalence to theory of mind to also replicating a piece of the Thai forest from Ivory Coast, literally with the GPS points accurate for foraging in trees and so on, and replicating that so that we can test humans and we can test chimpanzees and bonobos here, so we consider us to be captive humans as well as the captive bonobos and chimps, and we can compare them with the wild chimps. Let's see if this will work. Hopefully my film clips will work. This is a film clip of Kanzi on the, what would it be, on your right side, and on the left side is, hopefully it's going to work too. Yep, here we go, is Alex, chimpanzee. So the same Kanzi who did the roadside task. They're both doing an exploration task, in fact, the exact same task. And in this task, there are 15 pieces of fruit in the virtual environment, apples, bananas, and grapes, and they navigate around until they find all 15 pieces. Kanzi is very prefers the grapes, so he avoids all the other things till he gets all the grapes. And Alex doesn't really mind; he just goes for whatever is in front of him. They're both really good navigators. Okay, and then the next slide, hopefully, there we go, is both of them again doing the same task. This is the spatial memory foraging task, and this time Alex is on your left and Kanzi is on your right. And in this case, they were shown where food was hidden under a tree, and then the food was moved to a new location, which they had to explore and find. And then they were set way far back in the environment, and then they were basically, had to orienteer to this new location and come up with a novel path, which they both did. We've tested a number of chimpanzees and bonobos doing this, and they're all pretty good at it. Here, this is just a very quick film clip of Mbengele children doing an equivalence task. I don't have too much time to go into this. They're being tested on the spatial memory foraging task and another spatial task actually starting next week. My colleague is leaving this weekend to go there. And in terms of our data analysis, we come up with an optimal actual path ratio. So we do that using ArcGIS and our own VR program, Ape Explorer 3D. And we also are comparing the analyses with AI learning strategies. So I'll show you quickly, this is what an ArcGIS map would look like for over a number of different trials. This is for Alex. And this is what our data would look like for the AI analyses, where we have different models, learner, random goal, random move, same rule, and then we compare the chimpanzee and the human data and also bonobo data to that. We are also testing monkeys. I didn't include that in here, but we're testing rhesus monkeys and capuchins, and I don't have time to show you the film clips of them. But I did want to show you really quickly, and I'm running out of time, that the bonobos and the chimps are using, that seem to be approaching the virtual reality as if it is equivalent to the real life. And we see them using food grunts, which I won't do for you, but it means that they like the food that's coming, and they use handshakes like that when they're excited, and so they do that when they see food on the screen. And here you'll see on one side, you'll see Alex, who's navigating, and he peers around a tree in order to try to see the food better that's hidden behind the tree. He can navigate around it, but right now he's just peering around it. And on the other side, you see Tico, who is a 9-year-old bonobo, and he is doing a bunny hunt, which is a test that we're doing in the future. And you see he's trying to bite the bunnies as he's navigating around to follow them. And this particular bunny is a brown bunny, which is a harder one to find, so he's biting, trying to eat it. Okay, and he eventually gets the food. So in summary, we've established that our participants will engage with these VR environments and do goal-oriented tasks, that they remember where food is hidden, that they will generate novel paths to get to locations, and that they show observable signs of equivalence. And I just want to thank you for listening and acknowledge my support from CASL and from the university and from Templeton Foundation. Thank you.